All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? We got Billy here, Team BC. What's up, my dude? Right here, don't leave me hanging. I wanted to do an interview with him. I've been introducing people on the team to you guys, but I think he has an awesome story because he has a lot of sales experience before he came to Team BC, where he crushed it on the phones and doing traditional prospecting. And I really wanted to pick his brain a little bit about that and let you guys listen, because that essence and having that as an experience really is a testament to how effective sales can be and how important it is to constantly be doing the outreach and the prospecting and talking to people every single day.
Absolutely.
So Billy, man, welcome to the show. Welcome to YouTube.
Thank you. Welcome to Arizona.
You're on the new platform now.
Yep.
So yeah, man, give everybody a quick rundown of maybe a little background and then why you decided to join Team BC, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Waterloo, Iowa, and I started sales back when I was about 20 years old. And it started at a company called the CBE Group. And that's honestly where my name for my website, CBE Homes AZ, comes from. And the awesome thing about CBE is it actually doesn't stand for anything, and I kind of love that. And same with mine. It doesn't stand for anything. It's just CBE Homes AZ. It's not about me. It's about the other people. I had worked at that company for about 8 years. I built my way up from just starting on the phones to helping supervise and manage a team. There we had a team of about 16 people, and it was very old school dialing. We would print off a list, hand out a list to other people, and have them pick up a phone and just dial the phone number. If they got a contact, they would have to speak to that contact and try to get them to resolve a debt within a certain amount of time. If they were unable to do so, they would have to stand up and yell second voice, and that's where somebody like me would come in and try to use my communication skills and sales skills to try to lock in that debt and close it out within a certain period of time.
So like boiler room, Recco!
Yeah, just like boiler room. Yep, I was Vin Diesel hopping on the phone and closing people. No, but yeah, it is very similar to that. So I did that for years, and you know, we got rated off of 6-month batch liquidation rates, and when I came over to that department, they were last out of four different companies.
Yeah.
And I called it picket fences, and I told my team I wanted picket fences, and that's just first place in all 6 months, so just ones lining up.
Yeah.
And after about 6 months, after about 3 months, we got picket fences. We were first place in all. We shut down a couple other companies, and we gained some market share.
Nice.
And I decided at that point in time, I already had accomplished what I wanted in that business. And I moved over to another sales position out in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Eventually, I transferred from that job over to here in Arizona. I had tons of success there. The way that they structured things was the top 10% people got the most amount of commission. So I tried my hardest every single day, just dialing my ass off to get to the top 10% as consistently as I could. I worked there for about 6 years. After that, my son was born, and I decided that it was time to make a change and really hone in on becoming my own boss, my own professional. And I started exploring real estate. That's how I came across your content. That's what's gotten me into this position today. And probably for about the past 4 years, I've been actively working real estate. There's been a few bumps in the road, but we're back at pursuing it.
Dude, so what led you? Have you always been competitive like that? Because it's rare to have somebody in a position where you have to make calls and prospect to be like, yo, I want to be number one. Was that just always in you, or when you pick something, you kind of activate that thing, whatever it is, that X factor?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is sports kind of started it. I was always active. Being from where I'm from, it's a small town. I was one of those kids that was always outside on his bike, just riding around with the kids and playing basketball, playing tennis, playing baseball, and that's just part of my life. So it just naturally doing that, I'm just competitive in everything that I did.
That's good.
And one of the main sports, like we got the tennis court that's across from us right here, that I played was tennis. And I remember I was going to play I can't remember if it was the number 1 or number 2 in the state. It was ranked really high. The kid was really good. And I talked to my coach, and we ended up cutting a picture. It's going to sound crazy, but I cut a picture of the kid's picture out on his newspaper, and I carried it around in my pocket, and I carried it around in my notebook,
Yeah.
and I looked at this kid every day, and
Yeah.
I made sure that I wasn't intimidated by him because I wanted to beat him that bad. So, you know, that's kind of where I come from. I get that competitive where I want to be number one. And it came into my sales at that other job that I was mentioning. When I saw that those other companies were ahead of us and that we were at risk of losing, my first mindset was, I'm gonna show up every day because I want to shut these companies down.
Yeah.
That sounds really bad, but like I wanted to shut them down. And at the other job that I worked here in Arizona, when I first seen it was the top 10%, if there was a new guy that came in that thought that they were gonna beat me, you know, I'd let them believe that they could possibly get past me for a little bit until it comes down to the end where I would outwork them and hit that top 10%.
Yeah, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, man. I love that kind of competitive spirit, because that's something I've been telling people. You really got to learn to tap into that. It sounds like you did with sports initially, which I did too.
Yep.
And that's really what carries you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You know, a lot of people villainize it like, oh, you know, you can't think that way. But at the end of the day, that's going to lead to you producing more and approaching that business, whatever it is, with the right mindset, which is to go out there and conquer.
Yep.
If we show up scared, hesitating, well, I'm not good enough, I hope it works out, with that type of mindset and lingo, that's why most of our industry is failing right now.
Yep.
You know, and that's why the numbers are staggering. So you decided to get into real estate. Now, was it pretty quick? Found my stuff, got your license, or was it like a slow, gradual process to get your license?
It took me a little bit of time. I started off as an inbound sales agent for a company. So I got an opportunity to get on the phones, prospect, have conversations with people about real estate, and then hand them off to other agents.
Sure. So an ISA. Okay.
Yep. So I started as an ISA for maybe about 6 months. And then after that, I ended up getting my license and started working for myself from there.
Cool. Okay. So how was that? Was it became an ISA to pay the bills, or was it to ease your way into the business? Because normally people won't take that route. They'll just jump straight in.
So I have the mother of my child, her father is a real estate agent, and she's a real estate agent as well. And her father is, he is one of the most smooth talking Puerto Ricans you'll ever meet in your life. And I remember working on a transaction with him one time, and we were working together. I was the listing agent, he was the buyer's agent, and I was having a conversation with the buyer's agent, and the lady told me that he could make a fat girl feel the most pretty person in the world.
Yeah.
So he was a smooth talker, and I wanted to, you know, start a team with him originally. But, you know, the mother of my child and I went our separate ways. So I kind of ventured off on my own. And this is where my chip on my shoulder for real estate comes from is, you know, I made some mistakes when I was younger with like a DUI and stupid things like that, right? And in real estate, if you have that, you get a provisional license. So the team that my son's grandpa was on, they didn't allow people with provisional license on there. So I couldn't join that originally. So I had to go branch off to other places, and then after that, because it takes 2 years until your provisional license is done. So kind of after that, I grew a little bit of a chip on my shoulder and decided to just really venture out and try to not necessarily do this thing on my own, but build my own network and start from there.
Yeah. So what eventually led you to Team BC? You know, because a lot of people, I think the mindset is starting to shift, but they look at teams as, well, you only need that if you're a rookie. They're just going to take my money, right? And you never really approached it that way. So I thought it'd be cool to hear your perspective on that.
No, I think it's the foundation that you have. You know, you bring up a lot of times like the Trinity of success, like the Holy Trinity of success.
Yeah.
And there's multiple different ways that you can twist it.
Yeah.
And I can tell from everything that you do, not on weekly basis, not on a monthly basis, but it is daily. You know, you put a lot of content out, you stand on what you say, and that's part of the Trinity of success, which is making sure that your words, your thoughts, and your actions are all aligned.
Yep.
And I've seen you have success with that, and that's to where I want to be and what I strive to be. And now the benefit of Team BC, like we've had a transaction together where I've worked with Curtis and you, and you guys were extremely helpful. We had somebody that was in a distressed situation. Their situation was difficult, and a lot of people would have honestly probably pushed her to the side or found some easier route for her and not actually given her an opportunity to be able to sell traditionally.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was speaking with you, you always kept me in the pocket of a real estate agent and kept me in the pocket of what I can specialize in, which is helping her sell real estate the traditional way.
Yeah.
While still giving her other options if need be.
Yeah.
But by doing that, you know, we eventually had her under contract. We listed the home at market value and ended up getting that home under contract at full list price in one day.
Yeah.
So, you know, just things like that stood out to me. You know, a benefit, one thing I'm gonna bring up at your event today too, is a benefit of working with you is you have a plethora of knowledge for communication and sales skills. And if I'm picking up the phone, let's say I'm calling a FSBO every day for a week and I'm saying the same thing and I'm not getting an appointment with that FSBO or I'm not getting the contract signed, I can go to one of your meetings that you have either on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, whatever day, you know, and or even just send a voice note over and say, hey Bryan, I'm stuck on this, I'm not getting the results. Do you have another way that I can approach this or something else I could be maybe saying different?
Yeah.
And you're gonna have the answer for it. And I'll tell you, if you go to one of Bryan's one of your Zoom meetings, you're always going to see somebody bring up a question. You're going to give them an answer, and I see it almost every time. The person receiving the answer has this like, oh yeah, that makes sense, like an aha moment, or like a relief, like, oh yeah, I've been approaching it this way. It makes much more sense to maybe say something this way or get to the.
Or I didn't think of that, or wow, that's genius, or you know. But again, it's not that I'm special. It's just I have so much experience and study in this field that I understand those situations. I've tried different things, and I know what works and what doesn't. You know what I mean? So it's a combination of the knowledge acquired, but also applied and experiential knowledge, we can call it, where you're just out in the field and using these things, right? And I was joking with somebody the other day on the role play call. They had just signed up for the coaching. Actually, they're not on the team. And they're like, dude, this first role play like is worth the whole year because of certain questions that they had and certain things that I gave them. And shout out to Casella, right? Because that's who I'm talking about. I think he's 1 week into the role play and prospecting. He already took one listing and he has another listing appointment.
Nice.
He's been with us for a week, you know what I mean? It's like brand new agent who, again, probably mirrors a lot of the viewers of this video or channel. I'm newer, I don't feel that confident, right? Like all the same stuff everybody goes through in the beginning. But that's the importance of having the right people in your corner. And you know, with the team too, it really provides that community aspect outside of just the technical help, you know? And I look and confide in a lot of the team members, and I'm very close with you guys because I don't like to use the word family, right? Because it's not our family, but I like that feeling of it where you're comfortable, you're willing to be vulnerable, you're willing to share things, and you're willing to help each other and then support each other no matter what. Because sometimes you need a shoulder to lean on, you know? So moving forward, right, I wanna kind of ping this question off of you. There's a lot of uncertainty and fear around like AI and technology, and people think, well, you know, communication doesn't matter anymore, it's all about technology. I have, you know, my data on that and my thoughts, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on that because people are thinking that, you know, AI or technology will replace us, or that suddenly now communication is not very important and it's all about tech. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, that's a deep question to some, but I think people overthink it. You know, AI, I use it from time to time, and I'll use it maybe more for some educational purposes, just to maybe pinpoint a thought or a resource that I'm trying to find. But when it comes to, when it comes to using AI in business, I think everybody has the same tool at their fingertips, and there's nothing that becomes unique if everybody's using the same thing. And I also believe that there's so many different things with AI or technology to where you could say, the next week you'd be like, oh, okay, this new thing everybody else is using it, I want to add. And one thing I tell myself every day is I already have everything that I need to be successful, and that's just me. Like I have my own mind, my drive, my desires, my abilities. AI can't match that, you know?
Yeah, and I look at, you know, when people, because again, I think a lot of people view the people in comment sections as the public when it's not really.
No.
Last year, the highest number ever of agent represented sales, right? It was 92% or 91%.
Okay.
The lowest number ever of for sale by owner sales at 5% of the total sales, home sales.
Yep.
More people are being polled to trust and want to use realtors to even like buy a house, which supposedly would be the first one taken out, right? The buyer's agent.
Yep.
So when you look at the data, it's pointing the opposite.
Yep.
And I always tell people too, like one of the takes that I had on it was, sure, right? AI and technology might replace certain small, cheap commodities.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something of a significant investment, people are going to want to have someone in their corner or someone they can talk to. Because I even look at scenarios where people call a customer service line,
Yep.
like even me, and I'm frustrated because I don't want to talk to the fucking AI. I want to talk to a person.
Yep.
So I'm like, operator, smashing 0, you know, and like, we need to talk to you more before we send you to the operator. And I'm getting mad, and I'm like, I just want to talk to a person. And I know I'm not the only person like that, you know? So I think utilized correctly, it's a great bonus. I really think you literally have to be useless for it to replace you. That's kind of my...
exactly. You have to, your level of skill, it's just gonna, it's like, honestly, it may just weed out some of the people who don't care or just don't have the drive to be better, you know?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to up your skill level. You're gonna have to pick up an actual book and read, and you're gonna have to take some time. I've mentioned this before and other things. You have to take some time to sit in silence and listen to your own heart and listen to your own intuition and follow that, because that again is something AI can't do, that every human being has the capability of doing. And I mean, I even at this point, like, I'm not, when I write something out or I type something out, my grammar may not be the best ever, you know, and I'm at the point where I'm okay with that. And I honestly, even instead of commas, put ... dots now and other things like that, because I don't want people looking at the stuff that I put out and think that it's coming from AI. It's all coming from me.
Yeah.
And the more that you develop yourself and the more knowledge that you learn, you'll start to realize where AI is pulling some of its information from too.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that with me as well. Like, as years go on, if I ask AI a question and it starts digging and it gives me an answer, I can usually say, okay, AI is getting this answer from this resource, and then I'll dig more into that resource myself.
Right.
But
makes sense. Well, hey man, appreciate you doing the interview, dude.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a fun event. So it sounds like you kind of want to speak a little bit at the event.
Yeah, I will. I'm trying to debate if ever, I can get very philosophical sometimes. So I'm trying to debate if I want to get philosophical or just keep it to the basics, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll give you as much time as you need. Yeah. That's going to be fun. All right. I'll drop Billy's info in the description. If you guys want, grab the free script book. I have all the links there if you guys are interested in the coaching, talking to me about joining Team BC or Real. And then for those of you who may watch this, if you're still interested in the tour, we're in Phoenix today, which is Tuesday. I'm going to be presenting in California tomorrow, and then I'll be in Houston on Friday. So if you're in any of those locations, I'll drop the event link and you can register. All right, see you guys
later. One question real quick.
Yep.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you one thing. So when I was younger, this is like right. I'm an old guy, so this is right when YouTube was getting popular. My dad put out a YouTube video of a cruise, and it was just a whale barely sticking its head out the water, and he showed me, and I was like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing, Dad, you're on YouTube. So I want to say hi to my son Mars. So hi Mars, I'm on YouTube. I hope you think I'm popular, and I love you, buddy, and I'll see you later. Okay?
Yeah. Cool. See you guys.